Okay. What is up, guys? No regret here. We're doing in-depth episode number 35-ish. Dan didn't have the number available.
I really failed you today. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry about that.
That's the only thing we rely on him for, and he didn't have it, but that's okay because we have something special today. We have Scarlett joining us.
Hello.
And the idea of this episode is to discuss hotkeys and the decision-making behind them. She told me that she made them because I was wondering if she stole them from someone else, because that's what most people do. And she did make them, so we'll go through it a
that's
bit.
actually kind of an interesting thing, especially for Zerg, because I think most Zerg hotkeys originated around about like 3 people or so, right? Like I think a lot of people use Snoot's hotkey layout that he originally made, and then it's built off that. I'm not sure who else, but
Yeah. That is what lazy players do, though. It works for other people. Why not for me? You know.
Not every person on Earth is going to be a genius at making hotkey layouts.
Yeah.
It's more something that I did over time because I've been playing for so long now.
Yeah.
It's just every time I want to adjust something, I do it, and it's over 9 years. I've got what I like now.
That's very interesting. What did you start with?
I just started with
hotkeys?
standard.
Yeah. Like
And
grid
then
or just complete standard?
Just complete standard.
Okay.
And then the first thing I did was pretty early on when I was learning StarCraft. I moved all the hotkeys from like M, like movement speed for Zerglings, and melee attack on the Evo chamber. I just moved those to something on the left side of the keyboard because that's one of the main things with hotkeys is that you don't want to be moving your hand too much.
Yeah, yeah.
That was what I did too, actually. That was basically the only thing, but it just stopped there.
Yeah.
Like I never went further with it. So similar.
So is your hotkey layout still mostly based off of using the left-hand side of the keyboard? Like, is that... Because I know that there's a bunch of hotkey schemes for that. Obviously, like, grid was made to kind of keep that in mind. You know, for people that have heard of it, why did it just leave my brain? Jack Attack's layout.
So the core or
The
something?
core. I don't know how
On
that
the
just
right
left my brain.
I think Showtime uses
Is it on? Yeah, I think there is like 1 or 2 pros that use it. I think actually sort of used it for a little bit and then stopped. But I think he gave it a try as well. But yeah, it seems like this is an idea that people really are kind of into. But how is yours set up right now, basically?
So I guess the main thing is, since I'm a Zerg player, you kind of want to always have your hand near your hotkey for your hatcheries because it's basically the center of everything you do, your production and I guess
It's just the center.
Yeah, it's the center.
Yeah. Well, like for instance, right? There's 10 control groups. How many do you use? Where do you put them? Right? Because you can't have those kind of all at the same place.
I mainly use 1 to 6 on the keyboard. I have 7 for my spawning pool, which I almost never use. It's just early game for like speed, circling speed, and then I rebound a 0 to Q, so I can use Q for mainly my creep queens.
Oh, okay.
An easily accessible key for that, and I rebound F2 to the key to the left of 1, tilde or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Oh, for picking up like idle drones, basically.
No.
No, F2,
Army,
like
all
the
army.
all army key.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so all army is tilde key
Yeah.
right now. Okay.
That's actually mainly not used for Zerg. It's like if you're playing Protoss, even like all the pro gamers use this basically. Say you're rallying out Phoenix or something. Whenever a new one finishes, you quickly hit F2, control click Phoenix in the grid at the bottom, and then hotkey them again.
Yeah.
Or Immortals or something, so you don't have to look back at your production structures.
Okay.
Whereas with Zerg, whenever you start units, you can control click the eggs and add them directly to your control groups. So you don't need to do something like that.
Yeah. So you use 1 through 6, 7 is the pool, and that's just for checking, like starting speed and then checking if it's done, basically?
Yeah, the 7 hotkey is not really relevant.
And
It's
hold on,
just-
you have no keys popped out on your keyboard?
No.
How do you find 7 every time? Or 6?
As I was saying earlier, it's because basically my default hand positioning has 6 for the hatcheries.
Yeah.
So my hand is used to being there, and it's just easy to find.
And you like never miss it?
No, I never miss it.
I think I'm bad at games.
I feel like
Why?
I don't have.
Because
What
like
keys do you use?
whatever keys I have at the end of what I use, I always remove the key to the right of it
Okay.
so that I don't miss. Because you figure that out real quick, right?
Yeah.
Because there's like a hole there. But like when, for instance, like if I'm because I use different hotkeys in StarCraft 1 and 2, so if I jump between the games, like if I go play StarCraft 2 with my StarCraft 1 hotkeys, I always miss like 6 and 7, right?
Oh, okay.
I took like on my StarCraft 2 keyboard, I have like 890
Oh, you have
out,
two
I believe.
keyboards though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I needed to switch the colors of the keys anyway to make them alternate and make my keyboards look cool. So I have a black one and a white one.
Okay.
And so then I just keyed one for StarCraft 1 hotkeys and keyed one for StarCraft 2 hotkeys. I mean, everyone should do that if they play both games, obviously. But I'm surprised that your fingers just find them every single time.
Well, the hard part is basically when I'm off racing, I'll have, if I have a different key than as usual, say I'm Terran. I've been playing Terran a bit recently, and I have to have 3 keys for my production. I have barracks and factories and starports. And I use 4, 5, and 7 for that, because 6 is always my main STV producing stuff. And with
Okay, so 6 will be like command centers, 4,
Yeah.
5, 7. Okay.
And then when I'm Protoss, I have 5 on gateways. So for learning Terran, it was always hard because I would never be used to pressing 4 for my production structure. But since I'm very consistent on always using 6 on hatcheries, it's not an issue for me to find it.
Okay. And so a lot of Terrans, though, I've heard use tab, which breaks my brain to think anyone would macro with the tab button.
Some of them use tab, and some of them use both.
Yeah.
So like early game, they'll use the 3 different ones, but they'll also have them bound on the same one. So that, say you press your barracks hotkey, you can rally all of them with 1 right click in the, like after the early game, and you can use tab if you really want to, but you don't need to.
Yeah. So do you use tab for anything? Like the cycling hotkey?
It's good
Very
for
rarely.
it's good for the army when you have ghosts and bio in your army.
Yeah,
you don't want to
if you're
hotkey or
Terran.
ghosts individually because you can stim and then ghosts or whatever, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of Terrans only use 2 army hotkeys ever. So
And
they'll have all their bio on 1, and they'll
Yeah.
tab when they have ghosts.
because
and
like you
then-
can still retreat and move your
Yeah.
whole army as a like let's say you have ghosts selected on your hotkey, like, and you want to retreat. Now you gotta right click, go to another hotkey, right click, right? But if you're using tab, you still have everything selected. So it's stim, tab, EMP, tab, stim, whatever you gotta do.
So
And
say there's
your
liberators
whole
on.
right click army, whatever, to leave or to go sticks together. It
Yeah.
doesn't get clunky.
Because they could have a drop on 3, like liberators on 2, and then all the bio on 1. So
Sure.
they'll use tab sometimes.
So for Zerg, do you use tab at all?
Honestly, I don't know. It's not something I'm thinking about when I'm playing.
No,
I don't think so.
That's why I was asking you before we started if you needed your keyboard.
Yeah, but,
because
like,
if people ask me how do
I
you
don't-
press this button, I have to actually have the keyboard there.
That is a sub. Why is that even here?
I love it. Thank you for the sub,
Wait.
guy in the chat.
I don't use it commonly though. That's for sure.
Okay.
Tab was.
Okay.
I'm gonna delete that thing just in case it gets us demonetized. That would be really annoying.
Or
Shouldn't-
muted.
It shouldn't though. It's too
no,
quiet.
it
it's too
should
short.
be all right. It should be all right.
But thank you for the sub. So
Yes. Okay.
yeah, tab doesn't seem to be very relevant, and unless you have multiple spellcasters or multiple things you need to go through. Like let's say you had fungal and vipers and didn't want to hotkey them individually, that might be okay for tab. But
Yeah, like you could use it to use changelings or something, because a lot of the time you'll have overseers with your army for detection or whatever. So say you have vipers, corruptors, and overseers. Sometimes you tab, but nothing big.
I don't use it though. I actually have it completely out of my use completely.
I
'Cause
don't use tab
for
or F2. These are dirty buttons for
I
a
use
Brew
tab
War
for
player.
base cam right now because
Oh.
I use the base cam for injects, which is
Yeah,
less
yeah.
effective, but it's what I
Actually-
used to, and I got really good at it.
Actually, I stole Noni's hotkeys back in Wings of Liberty for Protoss when I switched over. So I actually have tab as a positional hotkey at my warping location,
Okay.
and then Q is my gates. So I
Okay.
go tab Q. Zzz,
So
works well.
the next thing that made a lot of sense intuitively with her hotkeys were the rapid fire hotkeys. Even there were some rapid fire hotkeys for buildings, which felt really well. Really good.
I actually was the one that brought that into the foreign scene back in the
Yeah.
day in 2013.
Oh wow.
I believe it was an option added in Heart of the Swarm, and I didn't know about it. But one of the I was at Axiom Acer back then. We were
Yeah.
playing GSTL Season 1, and one of the Kespa coaches or like player coaches was friends with some of the players. So he came over, and he showed us all how to use this hotkey, and I showed it to Caldor, who made a video on it, and then that's how it became known by the foreign
Damn.
players
Wow, look
back
at
in the
that.
day. But yeah, a more recent thing with the rapid fire is a lot of people are using it to build buildings nowadays even.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen that a lot with spines and spores, especially in the previous meta where
Yeah.
it was more Broodlord Infestor type stuff.
Even to like hatcheries, because a lot of the time Protoss try and block your natural, so you want to get it down as fast as possible.
Oh, Oh.
You can have like a separate hotkey just for that. So you just center the drone exactly in the middle by like checking the build grid beforehand with a different building, and then you just hold it down. So it
So
exactly
it's
on top.
insta-build.
Yeah, because sometimes it's like within a quarter of a second you'll get blocked or not.
Do you adjust your repeat rate like within Windows, or do you have a keyboard that does it? Did you just buy like one of those $150 keyboards that has a high repeat rate? How do you
Actually, on
manage
Windows
that?
10, it's extremely easy. I
Yeah.
can show you if you
Yeah.
have a display capture.
Yeah, we can do that. I was just
Yeah.
going to show the quick placement of buildings with the rapid fire.
But,
Sure.
but before Windows 10, it wasn't easy without a special keyboard.
Yeah.
So a lot of the keyboards people use, if you had a PS2 adapter, you could do it, but most of the modern computers at tournaments, a lot of them don't have PS2 adapters. So people had to buy Ducky one, which
There was a
was
short
able to
period
do
of
it
time
on-
where
on-
everyone
So-
had a
so
ducky, and then they all got
Why
rid of them.
did you need a PS2 adapter? Just because those are the keyboards that had
no, the keyboards, they were USB based, but they could only use this feature if you had a PS2 converter from
so
the USB.
it would be a
'cause-
USB keyboard that you plug in through the PS2 slot?
yeah. Something
That's
to do with the
crazy.
technology of the keyboards.
Yeah.
They can't register as many key presses
On a
with
USB?
compared
So-
to PS2.
No
For
way.
her- for
I had
Sasha,
no idea on that.
She does this, right? Like where
Yeah.
she finds it. I just put it in the dead center of whatever doodads there, and it's usually fine.
Yeah,
but
there's
I'm
not-
holding down one key right now. Watch how quick it builds.
Whoa.
So the whole time, if I have the resources for it, I can just hold that key, and it'll instantly build when I have it. So if you time it out really well. And she has it for spawning pool for some reason, but I still do it too. I guess it's because people can block your spawning pool as well.
No, I just like it as
Yeah,
fast as
I like it
possible.
too. So I'm just holding N, and my cursor's over top of the drone, and it should instantly build. I misplaced it for a second there. And she also has the, like, if I have my hatchery selected, she'll have the rapid fire hotkey to select larva for some of the units. So if you wanted to build zerglings, you just hold Z, and it would select larva and build the ling.
Yes.
So if you watch,
Wow.
I'm just gonna hold D. Right? No, there's no
Now
second key there.
Click on the hatchery and keep holding D. And as soon as
See
you get
it?
another larva, you'll get another drone.
See how the larva is automatically selected, just holding D right now?
Wow.
So I'm holding only D, and it instantly builds a drone, right?
So how many different things do you have set like that?
It's mainly for the early game units, because later game, you don't have as much time to micromanage these things. So it's just drones and zerglings.
Zerglings is a
Okay.
really good one.
Yeah,
especially
well,
late
especially
game.
for you, yeah.
Too, like
Yeah.
when you have a ton of larva and just holding down one key, no worry about it.
Like if you're 13, 12, or 12 pooling or something, you just
It's
want your
really
units
nice,
as
yeah.
fast as possible.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's not something harder to do. It's easier to do when you're playing.
yeah.
And it's faster, so there's no reason not to.
No, that's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of anything else that struck me really good, because I didn't use her hotkeys at all until some of these things felt really good.
When did you switch over?
Probably about a year ago now. Something
Okay.
like that.
Less
Not
than a year.
Yeah. I also never hotkeyed anything, but I started using the Q hotkey for mutas, and it felt really good. Because why not?
You should definitely have your mutas hotkey.
You have so
Yeah.
many free control group states.
I do. But yeah, also the F2 hotkey moving was really nice because I can use camera hotkeys if I want to, but I don't. So I don't care.
Oh, okay. So, wait, actually, you wanted to show us something with
Registry?
the registry. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, we can jump in game after that.
Yeah, because I
Multiple
actually
things
I
to
have
talk
a
about.
bunch of questions on
Okay.
Okay, let's
on
do a quick
positional
display
hotkeys
capture
and things
here.
like that.
Careful with what we show. I don't think there's anything.
Okay, so
X off your cacao, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, we should be fine.
that's
That's fine. 611. Okay, cool. Go
so
for
you
it.
can just jump in, run, reg edit. Yes, allow this. Okay, where is it? Here. Oh, it's already. Jake was already in it, so
Can
you
delete
just
it.
go current user. Yeah. Control panel, accessibility, keyboard response.
Hmm.
I don't know if this worked before Windows 10, but now this is really easy. You just set flags to, I believe, 59. And then it allows you to use it. And then you can set the repeat delay and repeat rate to anything you want.
Wow.
So I think a good repeat delay, if you're quick with your keyboard, is like 125, 150. Any quicker than that, and
It's really
it's
annoying for
very
typing.
easy to mess up.
Yeah.
Even if you're just typing a sentence.
It's really annoying to type. That's the
Yeah.
number one thing. Like, I don't mind having my links build fucking tiny bit slower or whatever.
Yeah, I use like 150, 125. It's fine. Any lower than that, it becomes a bit messy to use your keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
And then auto repeat rate is how fast it'll repeat. This is both in milliseconds. So the lower the repeat delay, the quicker it'll start repeating, and the lower
Yeah.
the repeat rate, the faster it'll repeat once it starts.
So this is how you do it nowadays.
Yes.
And does every place that you go to play tournaments allow this?
Yeah, yeah.
So like
You just actually, at first we thought it would be an issue at the PC bongs, because if you restarted the computer, it would
yeah.
wipe all the settings.
Yeah.
But you actually only have to log off and log back on for this to take effect. You don't have to restart your computer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because when I play qualifiers at like the Freaka TV PC bongs, I lose everything if I
Yeah.
screw it up at all.
Yeah.
You just do the settings. It doesn't
Yeah.
take effect till you log off, log on.
Okay. Okay.
That's what I was doing with like a lot of the driver applications that would be like you need to restart. I would log off and log back on, and it would be fine.
Let's say that you went to a tournament that for some reason you could not do this on. How would you get around that?
What do you mean by I couldn't do that? They just
Say
blocked
that-
registry?
Yeah, maybe something like that.
There's a few like random online programs people made that do the same thing.
Oh, okay.
It feels like it's not that hard. You actually made something.
No, I didn't. I just found one
Oh,
online
you found
beforehand.
one? Okay.
But it actually
Giving
didn't.
her too much credit there.
Yeah.
Before we know about this, well, I searched it up,
Yeah.
but because I didn't have a ducky one, I didn't want to buy one.
It was really easy anyways. It was just like a really simple exe that just changed the registry.
But it actually didn't work on Windows 7. It would glitch out with the controller shift key sometimes, and that actually GSL used to use Windows 7 until last year or the year before. So I had a few issues at GSL where I had to restart my computer between games because my control key would get stuck basically.
That's funny.
All right.
Yeah.
So do you want to do in-game stuff now?
Do we actually have? Can I log into my account so I have my
Yep.
hotkeys?
I mean, I think
Might
my
want to
hotkeys are the
switch the
same.
screen.
But
I don't care. This is like some Smurf.
Oh, okay.
oh, here we go. It's the 2. I
I-
wonder what her original email is.
Well, the other
it's
one's
my
also.
Smurf, guys.
I have like 9 accounts.
It's funny.
What are you gonna do? I log into it on my stream too. So let's see if I have my hotkeys. Okay. So jump in a map. Let's just have it.
Protoss?
Pittsburgh. Okay. So did you have any specific questions about hotkeys?
Well, yeah, I have quite a few. I'm wondering about your army choices,
Okay.
like how you use hotkeys for your army, and then also positional hotkeys. I'm always fascinated with positional hotkeys.
Do you mean by camera hotkeys?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Shift.
I don't know
one.
why I call them positional hotkeys. Probably because you hold a position with them.
Yeah.
I don't think of the game as a camera, you know?
Yeah, well, those are all interesting
Those
switches
are-
already.
Your drag scroll
I don't use.
is very low, Jake. Why
I
do you
don't
have
use
it so
that
low?
much. I use
Oh, wait, is drag scroll middle button?
Dragon
Yeah.
Scroll's the middle button.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
This is actually a newer thing that a lot of people are starting to use this.
Yeah, the drag scroll, like
Yeah.
the middle mouse button push down scroll feature you're talking about
Yes.
right now, right? This actually, that button in particular, I was wondering about with people, that people are starting to use it. I did notice, but I wonder if that's a good idea because it seems to me that that is one of the worst ways you could stress the tendons and stuff. Doesn't it feel weird to press that?
It depends on the mice. Some of them are very hard to press it.
Mm.
Like I think the G9X was very hard to press that button with. But with most of the
How do you
mice
press it? Let me
nowadays,
see how your finger touches it.
Just like this.
Oh, okay. Because
Actually,
I feel like when I press it, I'm like pressing it right there, which makes it like really weird.
no, I press it here.
Yeah, okay. Because I do like claw fingers, like so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that feels a bit weird with claw fingers.
yeah.
So first off, yeah, if I just hold down D, it'll make my drones.
Mm-hmm.
This repeat rate is actually slow because I did the settings on registry, but without relogging on, they don't actually take effect,
Yeah,
and that would
yeah.
end the stream. So
Wait, wasn't it? It wasn't set already?
no, it wasn't.
Okay, well.
You had the flag set to 0, which disables it.
You think you've been using your keys? You're
I just
not.
don't care that much. If I was playing like super tryhard, I probably would figure
Mhm.
that stuff
I
out
need
more.
to start getting like queens and stuff so I can actually
Do things.
use units. Yeah. Okay, maybe we should enable it so we can actually see the control groups. That would help.
I turned that off so people don't complain about how I'm not using any hotkeys. But they still complain about it.
Yeah.
then they've heard rumors that I don't use hotkeys, and they see that, and they're like, "Whoa, he
No
actually
hotkeys.
doesn't use hotkeys."
Not even as hatcheries.
Yeah. It might be interesting actually to pull Estrella because he actually switched to the mouse.
Yeah, the drag scroll.
He
recently.
switched completely
To using drag scroll to get
for
everywhere?
everything, basically.
Cyril does it too, I believe.
So
Yeah.
I
That's
think
for a
I
while.
heard that. I think I heard that Cyril does that. It's just
His
so
idea-
basically
he said
the
the
idea
biggest-
is I think that we might be going above some people's heads. So the idea is to use that drag scroll as opposed to pushing your screen
Yeah,
with
as
the mouse,
opposed to
right?
this.
Yeah.
said the biggest thing is because you using drag scroll, your mouse cursor stays in the same place when you're moving your screen, right? You see how you're not moving your mouse up to hit this?
Yeah.
So that's the idea with it.
It's
Oh,
just much more.
absolutely.
It's the same. Like when you're observing a game, a lot of the observers will actually use the drag scroll
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
because it's so much
less-
smoother.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing when you're playing. Like if you're constantly going like this, your mouse is all over the place, and it's way harder to actually accurately do stuff.
This is actually something I talked to Drogo a little bit about it, and I've talked to a few different StarCraft 2 people about this. My idea with the screen scrolling in general, you get so many hotkeys and positional hotkeys, or camera keys, as you call them, in
Yeah.
StarCraft 2, that I always felt like it should be the goal to never scroll your screen if possible. Like, you should try to jump everywhere.
Yeah.
So when I see people like scrolling a whole bunch, I feel like that's wasted potential within StarCraft 2 because you have, what is it? You have like 8 or 10 camera hotkeys. I'm not even sure. And then you have things like last response, cycling. You have all of your regular hotkeys as well. How do you jump around? Are you like how are you doing this?
You definitely do want to use actual control groups or camera hotkeys as much as possible. Usually, especially for Zerg, we'll just have a camera hotkey for each base. That's the simple way to do it. But if you're in the middle of a fight or something, a lot of the times you'll have to move it around because a fight doesn't just happen in one place the whole time. And you won't have like separate little groups, all hotkeyed separately that you jump to. Say you're chasing or something, you'll just want to move your screen around.
Yeah. Well, there will always come times, I guess, when that's occurring, where you have to like scroll the screen in some way.
Yeah.
All right. So you're gonna show us how you do injects, right? Is that what we're
Well,
about to see?
I'm not. This is how I would like to do injects. If
Okay.
I was
Oh, here
actually
we go.
better at the game.
It's actually injects are one of the hardest things for me to change to.
I think Rogue is the first one that uses this method, and now I'd say most of the better Zerg pros do. Like Cyril does, Laser does, Lambo does.
What
Dark,
is it? Is it
Rogue.
the? Oh yeah.
So used to be the old method is you would press your camera hotkey. You have say you're fighting, and then you press F1 select, F2 select,
Yeah.
like this. This is the old method, but then Rogue actually started doing a method that was way faster. Oh, Solar also uses this too, where you just press. You have a hotkey for your injecting queens only, and then you'll press that hotkey, and then you press the camera hotkey 1, inject, click, like this. But when I have an energy, I'll show you.
Oh, okay. So you have a camera hotkey over every hatchery,
Yes.
and all the queens are selected. So
Yes.
as long as they have energy,
They won't run around.
Yeah.
yeah, they will. You'll just have the one inject because of SmartCast.
So why?
It's hard to do it quickly on my
I don't
side.
understand why people don't just use the camera, like the backspace one.
They
like this
did
one.
at one point. Like,
Because,
did you
like-
ever use it like
No,
that?
I
Scarlett?
don't think any programmer
I
ever
did.
used
No
this.
one-
I still use it.
There was a lot of theory
Yeah.
put into using it
But
like
the
that.
problem is, it's based on the last. It goes to the hatchery after the last hatchery that it went to. So say you're fighting somewhere and then you press it, it doesn't necessarily go to your main base.
Mm-hmm.
Say the last time you used it, it ended up here, then you're fighting and then you click it, it'll go here. So it's not consistent.
The one
Okay.
thing that I don't know if I do it subconsciously, but I am very good at spamming the correct amount of clicks to get to the right hatchery that I want,
Yeah.
even though it's inconsistent.
It's just less efficient and not consistent. So
Yeah.
But I think it's because I've been using it for maybe 8 years now. Backspace base cam.
Yeah. Okay.
So with that amount of like practice, I almost intuitively know where my last time I used the base cam was. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like let's say I used the injects and then it was on my 4th and then I go and fight and now I use it again. I know exactly it's gonna go to my main or whatever, the next one.
Mm-hmm.
So if I am 3 away from my main, I know I have to tap it like 4 times to get to my main base.
Okay,
So I'll just
yeah.
spam it 4 times and I'll hit it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's extremely hard and I can't even think, like I can't think about it at all, you know? Like I don't think, oh, it just naturally happens. Like I press it
that
4
would
times.
have to be because the game moves so quickly. That would have to be how it.
I just
how
don't think
goes.
about it at all. It's just, it's sometimes I miss and I have to go all the way around, but it's very rare.
Okay, so this way that Rogue does it, where it's all the queens on a hotkey, jumping from camera key to camera key to different hatcheries for the inject. You said this is how you want to do it if you can get better and whatnot. Yeah. Is it something that you're actively practicing to include into your game?
On and off, yeah. Actually, in the past like week or two, I started again practicing it.
Yeah.
What I need to do honestly is to go into customs like before I ladder every single day.
Yeah.
And then practice it a bunch of times.
Yeah, deliberate practice for that would be, that's like a perfect situation to go into the hyperbolic time chamber and make yourself perfect at it.
Yeah.
I think it probably wouldn't take that long, but then I think about
it
like
won't.
how long the inject method that you currently use, like if you're in a tournament right now.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing your injects that way?
Maybe 6 years at least.
Yeah. So I think that's maybe the issue, right? Because you're fighting against 6 years of like every day for hours you do it this way.
Exactly.
So I don't want to make that seem like an easy thing to overcome. How long do you normally find it takes you to switch some sort of hotkey move or some sort of hotkey button that you're really used to?
It's usually pretty quick. Like it's usually within a day I can switch most of my hotkeys.
Wow.
Like to be pretty consistent with it, not like 100% comfortable, but pretty good. But the problem with this is that it's not just remembering, because I can remember that I've inject queens on 5, which I wouldn't have before. But it's like a whole pattern you have to do really quickly. So you press your hotkey and then camera hotkey, click. It's like, how many actions is that total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It can be like 13 actions that you're doing in like half a second. And when you watch Dark, and if you watch Dark's first-person view on GSL, because I have the first-person streams now.
Yeah, that's right.
You'll see him inject 4 or 5 bases in a quarter of a second.
Yes,
and
Cyril too.
You're doing like 15 actions in a quarter of a second. It's ridiculously fast.
Yeah.
So that's the reason it's hard to switch to this method. And also another thing is you have to be accurate, because you're, at least with my current hotkey setup, I have to move my hand a bit when I'm doing it. A lot of people will actually still use V for inject, but I have a second inject hotkey on space now, just to try and do this faster. It's because I don't use space for anything else, and it's like the easiest key to hit. So if I'm trying to do it really quickly, it just helps me do it a bit faster. Like that's very slow compared to one of the top players right now.
Can you do it again so we can see?
I even missed one there.
And it ran.
Yeah.
How often do you lose a game due to screwed up inject micro?
What do you mean? Like the queen's moving?
I saw that queen running, and then maybe you're being under attack at the same time, and then you're missing around, and like, not necessarily it cost you the game exactly, but like, you know that it contributed. Does it happen often at all, or?
It happens much more to lose a game because I just didn't inject. Actually, if you watch Dark's POV, I don't think he's actually doing this ideally, because he has his creep queens and his inject queens all in the same hotkey. So if so he has to make a lot of macro hatches, because whenever he spreads creep, all his queens from all over the map run over to spread creep. And then when he injects, they all run back to the hatcheries.
That's funny. I'm going to look for that next time I cast him. Oh my god, I had no idea.
So when we were watching GSL the other day, the queens are running all over the map, like every game he plays.
Wow, I bet you sometimes his opponents are like, damn, he's good. How'd he get all his queens here that quick to defend? Like,
so when he's playing like Ling Bane styles, you'll see him always have 2 macro hatches in his main.
Yeah.
And he's injecting those as well. And then the queens go back everywhere when he spreads creep. And he also spreads creep doing like the quick methods like this.
Yeah.
Okay, check.
I like
repeat
this one.
rate is kind of slow, but when you do that, all the queens, you're not just spreading like 3 tumors. So say you have 3 spare queens, they'll go there. He just spams it, so all the queens will just run. Say I add these.
God, that's funny. Like, why doesn't he fix that? That's our world champion.
This is a newer thing, because he didn't used to use this inject method until last year, I believe.
Okay.
So maybe it's a newer thing he has to
And
work
Rogue
on.
came up with that then.
Yeah, Rogue was doing it. I believe we first noticed it because he used to stream on Afrika with messed up sound to like no viewers every day before he won BlizzCon or anything.
Yeah.
This is like early 2017.
That's funny.
And we used to watch him in the team house because he was really good.
Yeah.
But That was. He's been using it at least since early 2017. That's when we noticed him on stream using it really quickly. So probably switched in 2016. So 4 years ago now.
The one thing about this here, like if you don't have like if you're not spreading with new tumors, like doing this, you can do it really fast with like this, you know?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't move any queens.
Basically everyone does that.
And it's really fast. So that's the nice thing about.
Yeah, it's super fast.
That's again with the. Can I show?
Yeah.
It's crazy how much these hotkeys actually improve the speed of Zerg. It is it's truly crazy because I don't have any special hotkeys set with Zerg. So when I play Zerg, if you saw
like
me play, it's like
motion.
watching someone play Wings of Liberty, where you're like, "Yep, I mean that might look kind of fast if you've never seen this before."
Yeah, that's how I felt when I switched over too. But I don't have the registry edited, so my repeat rate's a little low.
Yeah. Okay, so camera hotkeys. Do you only use them over your hatcheries, or do you have other ones as well?
Yeah, I only use them over my hatcheries. I think that's normal for Zerg players at least.
Do you have like a rally point that you normally use, and how do you get there?
It's usually, well, as Zerg, you mostly hotkey your units from the eggs.
Yeah.
And you rally overlords when you start them. So Zerg doesn't really look at the rally as much. And it's usually in front of my natural, and I'll just manually look there. If I forgot to hotkey something, or if I didn't rally some overlords and I want to spread a few more overlords or something. I think this is Dark's point of view. So I'll try and find some. Wait, this is solar, right?
Is this the super tournament?
This is solar
that's
risk
definitely
here.
solar. Yeah.
Okay. Wait, this is Dark. No, this is Dark.
Yep, that's his name.
I'm just trying to find a longer game where he's injecting. Okay, this is Dark vs. Maru. Maybe we can drop
pull it up on the display.
I don't think we have display set right now. I think we have game set.
Yeah. Here. Let's.
Yeah.
Oh,
Can
let
you
me get it.
set it up properly?
I don't know why that's a thing. Let's put this over here. Get my display capture up here. Okay.
Okay, so this is Dark.
Yeah, from the Super Tournament Finals. This is his first-person view. I believe he injects around now. Looking at the timers.
Well, he'll have to inject within 25 seconds, right?
Okay, we just saw him inject all his bases.
Yeah, that was
insane.
Pretty insane. It looked, because that's the first time I've watched him do that first person, it looked like he injected 3 hatcheries. I feel like I saw him inject 3 hatcheries, but he has 5 hatches.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
And if you watch all the top Zergs now, they do it like this. Like Dark, Rogue. Rogue does it really quickly. Sarl does it extremely quickly.
1 sec.
Sounds like you have some homework to do.
Yeah,
to start doing that.
Oh, the lighting's so bad in this room.
Where's your lights that you
Downstairs.
had before? Nah, forget it. It's fine.
We'll get it for the next episode that we do.
Okay, so your camera hotkeys you only use over hatcheries. When you get up above 4 bases, do you jump over the F5 through 8?
I do use F5. After that, I'm not as good with like.
Yeah.
We just saw him inject again. I just reset it. But when you get past like F5 and especially after F6, like you have to move your hand a lot to do it. So I don't ever use F7. I use F6 sometimes, but not all games get there. So it's not as important. You can just click on the minimap. Usually, a lot of the times early game, you use the camera hotkeys even to defend harasser stuff, not just to manage your drone lines. So it's important to be.
Did you see? Even that was really interesting. Did you see that?
Well, yeah, he was just injecting his main base hatcheries.
Listen, don't undersell it, okay?
Yeah.
Look at that.
Guys, you can check out all of these on Afrika TV.
Yeah.
If you're trying to get better, this is a great thing to look at. Obviously,
that was
any
really
first-person stream can be very useful.
That
That was the worst.
What was that blink?
He misclicked, I think.
Probably trying to Yamato.
Yeah, I think he tried Yamato because he jumped onto Corruptors, I believe.
Free present for Dark.
Yeah. Okay, so, wait, what was I just asking about?
You're asking about camera hotkeys?
Okay,
if I use after F6.
That's right. Okay, now I remember what I was going to ask next. Here, we should probably turn this off. I don't want to steal Afrika's content all the way. Guys, check that out on afrikatv.com. I think there was a Reddit thread about the fact that there's first person, so you can check it out to find the links. Okay, so do you use all 5 of your fingers regularly on the keyboard? Like, I know some people like might not use thumb that much, or maybe use thumb just for spacebar or something like that. But
I don't use thumb except for spacebar, which I only started using recently. But the other keys, yeah, I use all of them. My pinkies for like Control, Shift, Alt, that kind of thing.
And
Z.
what are your army hotkeys looking like?
Army hotkeys? I usually, especially when I'm playing Zerg, because I'll have my different types of units on different hotkeys. So usually one will be my base unit, Zerglings, Roaches, Ravagers, whatever. Hydras, my main fighting units. Say I have Mutas or something, or Corruptors, those will be on 2. If I have Vipers later, those are usually added with the Corruptors on 2. 3 can be for Infestors or something. 4 can be also like Broodlords. And then if I have some units that are not as common, like Swarm Hosts, I'll try and use a hotkey of a unit type that I'm not making that game to fill that role.
Do you use multiple hotkeys for, like, let's say, run-bys,
run-bys?
flanks, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Say it's like mid-game, I'll grab some units. You can press like Alt-4, and then it separates the hotkeys. That's really nice. So you can quickly say they're all on one. You can group off some, and then just attack around.
So Alt-4 removes them from the last hotkey and adds them into a new hotkey?
Yeah. So before this was added, I believe in Legacy of the Void this was added, it was actually quite hard to do run-bys when you're grouping the eggs with your army. So that was actually an argument that some people used to not actually do that, but nowadays there's no reason not to. Because back then you would have to, like, if you're defending a drop and you didn't want to send your whole army, you would have to shift-click each Zergling individually.
Yeah, that's too much.
And that's what pro gamers did before Legacy of the Void.
Oh, that's crazy.
So this is another reason that
I feel like a drag select would be a much better
but if you
there.
drag select and then Control 2, then they're still on the first hotkey. So if you send your main army somewhere, they'll just come back.
I still think it would be quicker though if you
every time you
if you like drag selected the group off, hotkeyed it, sent it, and then re-drag selected your other group.
Yeah, but the problem is then all the hotkeys there's like all the units still building in the eggs.
Yeah, the eggs are still.
Yeah, it would mess up that system.
Yeah, that would mess it up.
F2.
Yeah.
Never any issues with hotkeys ever.
Speaking of which, if you have your 4 keys for your army, whenever you attack move your army, are you doing 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, or are you using all army hotkey?
I try and do it all separately. Sometimes if I'm in a really stressful game, then I end up using F2. This is not very common. Say it's like we had a big fight, there's not much stuff left, then I'll end up F2ing for like a bit before I get my hotkeys back to
Okay,
setting.
so normally though you'll go 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A?
Yeah. But a lot of the times you don't want all your units in the same place.
This is going to sound like a weird question. Do you use, what finger do you use for A? And then what finger do you use for attack?
1A, 2A. I used my ring finger for A.
For all 4?
Yeah, 1A, 2A.
It doesn't switch at all? Okay.
I use my index or the middle for 1A for the 1, 2, 3, 4. Like my middle finger is for 1 and 2, and my index finger for 3 or 4.
Oh, okay. That's yeah. Okay.
Then
because I
I
switch fingers too when I'm doing big attack
I
groups.
didn't actually know that till I just tested it.
Yeah, no, I can't even remember which fingers I'm using, but I think it's the same as what you just said. And I was talking about hotkeys with someone, and I did it, and I watched. I was like, I switch fingers like in between this. This is crazy.
I
think most people probably do.
So 1A, 2A, 3A, 4. That's what
yeah.
So
that's
this
what
finger
it looks
is
like.
1A, right? And then 1A,
Wait,
2A,
you use
3A, 4.
one finger to hit 1 and A?
Yeah. I don't know why. I've never thought about it either.
What about when you F2A?
F2A? Well, I don't use F2. Yeah, I do too, I think.
What do you mean no, it's F2?
No, but I mean, like, I don't use F2 anymore. Yeah, I still hit A with this finger, always.
Okay.
That's weird. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's a fascinating thing seeing
yeah.
fingers switch for keys as you move forward in something, even though it's the same type of action.
Another thing I want to mention is, okay, we need a layer actually before I do this. But if you're using the base standard hotkeys, there's a problem with your inject hotkey will be the same as the overseer hotkey. So say you're jumping to a base and you want to inject, but there's no queen there for some reason, you just do it really quickly, then you'll accidentally morph an overseer. And you'll see a lot of pros actually still do this. They'll accidentally make overseer sometimes. Not so much anymore when they switch to the new inject system. But so for conflicting things, you should never have it a possibility of pressing a wrong hotkey on accident. So another thing is you should never have any of the hotkeys on your hatchery, for example, be the same as a hotkey for a unit you can build from the hatchery. Because if you try and build units and you have no larva, say your layer hotkey is H or something, because the hive hotkey is by default H.
Yeah.
So if you have no larva, you can accidentally build a hive every time you try to make hydras.
Wow.
So you want to make 100% sure that none of these hotkeys overlap with any of these hotkeys.
That makes sense.
So that's another thing to watch out for.
That was the thing that I used to do. I used to have my layer on A.
Yeah.
And I would always just build layers. Not that I was building any units, but sometimes I was attacking. It was really quick, and then I would just build a bunch of layers. You know, whatever. Sometimes there's a bit of an overlap when I'm like controlling my army and building.
I think it's good to account for things like that because mistakes like that happen all the time.
They happen all the time. Even programmers make these mistakes all the time if they don't fix their hotkeys. It's similar with, I think the Ravager hotkey is the same. It's also by default V, so I changed that so I don't have an accidental Ravagers. You see people make accidental Swarm hosts all the time.
All the time.
Oh, yeah, Swarm hosts.
To the point where I'm quite certain that
it's because it's on A.
Yeah, see? It's on A too.
That's
so
the reason.
That happens, yeah.
So if you have an accidental Swarm host issue, just change it from A. It's because you're trying to make units.
I think it's to clown opponents. Like it always happens at the end of the game. The guy who's winning makes a Swarm host.
It's because like you press 6S, you want to build some, say, Zorglings, and then you want to switch your army and attack move, but you accidentally didn't click the army hotkey or something. You'll just build a Swarm host instead.
Yeah, that's so funny.
So you'll get a 1 because you press A 1 time, so you have 1 Swarm host at your rally point.
There's a lot of
people should just switch that hotkey.
Yeah. I don't feel like I make that mistake anymore, but I still should switch the hotkey.
I think Rogue switches Swarm host hotkey to the left mouse button for last year.
He's got one of those programmable 9 buttons, 9 button mice.
Yeah.
Do you use any mouse buttons?
No, I hate mouse buttons.
There are people that do that.
I think they're the worst thing.
I think they're terrible to use, but
especially ones on the sides of the mice.
Yes.
I'll be right back.
Yes.
You're trying to move the mouse and press a button at the same time. It pushes the mouse.
Yeah, I think it's a really bad idea for multiple reasons. I remember there were some people in StarCraft 1 that were using siege and unsiege on the side of the mouse because you do it so often.
Yeah.
But the way that I look at it is that the mouse is supposed to be like an extension of your body.
Yeah.
Like there should be zero brain in the mouse. The mouse is literally you in the game. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Whereas everything mechanical I do, I want to do with my left hand on the keyboard, and then there can be thought on that and nail that all out, whereas the mouse is like, I need it to be perfectly smooth the whole time.
Yes, that's exactly the same thing, I think.
Yeah.
I really don't like the idea of any hotkeys on the mouse.
Yeah, I think that's also part of the reason I don't like this middle button scroll thing. I'm like, why are we complicating mouse?
Well, it's the same, because you're using your mouse to scroll anyways, and it's almost simplifying the screen movement.
Yeah.
So we're going to bring in Estrella because he very recently switched to mouse scrolling.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be really interesting to talk to him
I would
about.
love to just hear about mouse scrolling real quick from you. Go right ahead. Okay, so
what do I say?
You're using mouse scrolling now instead of scrolling on the edge of the screen, yeah?
Yeah. Like this.
79% exactly?
It was either 77 or 79, but close enough.
Okay. How do you like it? How long did it take you to switch to this?
Well, I started with trying to do it with a reverse drag scroll like Sasha did it, and I was getting kind of better at that, but after a while...
Wait, reverse scroll?
Yeah, that's how Sasha has it set.
Oh, like you're playing like a helicopter game or whatever where you pull back to go up and then you push forward to go down?
In Warcraft 3, the default is what it says invert in StarCraft 2.
Really?
There was no way to change it. So when I started playing StarCraft, I immediately set it to invert because that's how I always did it.
I had no idea.
In Warcraft 3, yes.
That's so weird.
It feels way more natural.
But the thing
In
is,
Dota also, it's that way.
Well, it feels natural because you played like that, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Like I have no idea why it would feel natural. Like only because I've played like flight simulator games do I know how to do that. So wait, do you use inverted or no?
not inverted. So I tried inverted for 6 days because that also felt more natural to me at first. Then I switched because I realized how you want to be using middle mouse scroll is, like, say I want to move my Zerglings here.
Yeah.
I would do it like that. But if you're trying to use inverse drag scroll, then you kind of have to guess the angle.
Oh yeah.
It's really weird.
Wait, do you use invert scroll?
Yeah, I
But
always have.
So how do you do what he's talking about?
She
do you
doesn't use
mean?
it like that, though. So if she
Oh.
wanted to move her Zerglings here, she would do this.
Yeah.
But if there's like stuff going on around the map, then she would use reverse drag scroll and like kind of look around a bit. But she would never do this.
Yeah, I don't have a camera movement and a unit movement in the same time. That feels weird to me.
Okay.
I know that because I watched her play a bit. But I specifically use it pretty much all the time. So I'm doing like this sometimes, you know, like moving my units around and the camera at the same time.
Okay, hold on. What finger are you using for this middle scroll?
Left.
So you never find yourself having a hard situation where you want to use a left click and that in like rapid succession somewhere. Like I can't think of the thing because I don't use this button, but
There every once in a while it feels awkward when I'm chasing something on the edge of the screen. It can feel awkward, but I think in that case, if I'm specifically doing this, I think I do use the edge of the screen.
One thing I want to do, I want to add the.
okay. So hold on. When do you use the edge of the screen for? I'm sorry. Jake was like moving cameras around for some reason.
He's trying to show the hands.
Hi everyone.
I bet you guys thought we were going to have an episode of In Depth without Estrella.
No, you can't
idiots.
escape me. I'm always
It'll
on.
never happen. I walked in and he woke up, and I knew it was going to be a
Wait,
good
you just
idea.
wake up at 6:30?
No, I woke up at 5.
Did you hear GSL's online?
Yeah, I heard. Ricky told me.
Oh, did they announce it?
Yeah, I think so.
1, 2,
Okay.
4.
I never know what's announced, so it's like I hear things, but I
Well, I talked
just
about it
never
on
say anything.
stream yesterday, so
Oh, okay. Yeah.
if I say it now, I already said it before.
Okay.
I said I thought it would be
Yeah.
online yesterday.
So these are my settings. I
Okay.
have mouse scroll speed all the way down to 14.
Okay, so mouse scroll is the edge of the screen.
Yeah.
Why do you have that so low? That feels weird that
Um,
that's so low.
I noticed Cyril and Maru actually do the same thing where they have it super low, because the only time, in theory, I want to be using it with my setup, using drag scroll all the time,
Yeah.
is if I'm stutter stepping. Because that's the one thing that's awkward with drag scroll, is if you're like,
Ah.
so it doesn't really matter. It actually feels quite nice if it's really low. It's really smooth to like, do something like this. I don't know. Chasing something on the edge of the screen. I don't know.
Okay. I already know the answer to this, but does any pro use the arrow keys at all for anything?
I think some people use it when they're setting up their camera huggies at the start of the game to
Yeah,
center
yeah.
it on the bases as much as possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's funny. In all the history of StarCraft, only Slayer's Boxer ever used arrow keys, and it was only during specific vulture harassment to center his screen over the vultures. Yeah.
Actually, in Brood War, they have the drag scroll too, but I don't think you can change the speed. So whenever I'm playing Brood War after a long time, it moves to across the entire map instantly when you try and use it.
Oh, yeah.
So since I'm in the habit of using it from StarCraft 2, my camera just flies across the map on accident all the time.
What race do you play?
Protoss?
Ah, so it doesn't matter anyways.
Not really. Just make Zealots and they move.
Okay, so would you suggest that anyone trying to get good at this game would use the middle scroll button? And does it not give you like tenseness in your arm to use that thing?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not
Okay.
yet? That's not a good answer.
I mean, that's solely I've only been using for like 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
It seems fine so far. I'd say the difference is in reality not too big.
Okay.
Like, I think it makes more sense logically to do it like this to me.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's kind of funny though that you two use it in a different way, where you're actually moving your army along with it,
yeah.
and then you're just moving your screen along with it.
Well, I probably started doing
What,
it.
moving the army you think is correct?
With it, not just the screen.
I started doing it when I was playing Dota, most likely in Warcraft 3, so it's a habit left over from that.
The one thing is that if you're watching my screen as opposed to some other players, it'll look really smooth because my mouse is hardly moving at all when I play. It's almost always like in this zone.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rarely somewhere. You don't have to move it very much.
Yeah, yeah. I think you want to do that. The more you can keep it in the center, the more efficient you're going to end up being with your movement.
And then when you press F2 or whatever, your mouse is almost always going to be in the center of the screen still.
Yeah.
So it looks very smooth visually, but in reality, if you're used to this way, you probably don't have to change. Like it'll improve your play slightly, but not too much, I think.
Okay.
But I like it.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's actually like kind of hurting my brain trying to figure out what that would be like to play like this and to move your army like this.
Mm.
Especially that, like moving the screen. I've seen pros doing that more and more lately, but this movement thing that you just showed me is like, I'm gonna get a migraine thinking about trying to move army around like that. Like, I feel like I should be able to come up with a reason why it's not good, but nothing's coming. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. Yeah. It's not good because I'm old and in my ways. I'm like stuck in my ways. That's why it's not good. I'm like, no, change is bad.
Yeah.
Wow. Damn, he makes a lot of roaches. Look at that.
I'm really good at Zerg.
I can tell.
I've maxed at the 28-minute mark.
Yeah.
Anyone have questions for me about Drag Scroll? Oh, they're here.
For everyone saying social we live together, guys. That's not how social distancing works.
Huh. I don't live here.
Well,
shit, I gotta get out of here.
You're special. Yeah. Do we have anything else to talk about in the hockey episode?
Thank you, Estrella.
Yes, he's gone. He was watching anime, but thank you, Estrella.
Let me think if there was anything else. This has been really fascinating, though. Thank you, Scarlett, for explaining your take on the Hotkeys.
Someone asked about Terran.
Yeah?
I'll try and jump into a Terran. My Hotkeys aren't set up for Terran because I have not played Terran very much, but I can quickly explain what I do use. We always kill the Protoss AIs.
Have you ever died to it by accident?
The easy AIs? No.
I don't think it's possible.
Yeah,
I've lost my adepts to them.
Damn.
Because I always like 6 spool, so I'm testing out a build order. And I'm shading my adept in when their hatcheries normally just finished. And then they have 6 lings waiting on top of the ramp. Oh my god.
I feel like I would like to switch over to the way they're doing it. It feels like if I'm Ling Bane microing, it could be extremely useful to have my mouse really close to the center of the action.
Yeah.
Instead of like mid Ling Bane fight, I have to move my camera up. And that's honestly the only thing I really care about is Ling Bane, so.
Yeah, moving your camera, like, the unit movement would make more sense Estrella's way, I think, with the Ling Bane against Ling Bane.
Yeah.
Because if you're on the edge of the screen, that's where you can get caught off guard more, right?
And there's a lot of, like, engagements where I'm not expecting them from. So there's a lot of sudden camera movements. Like, for example, if I'm on a ramp or something, like, their Ling Bane is just so volatile. There's just so many different, like, ways people can engage me. And it feels like I'm moving my camera in opposite directions a lot, like back and forward.
Yeah.
So it's like my mouse has to go from one end of the screen to the absolute opposite end of the screen.
Yeah.
So
that's actually like that whole thought process that we've been talking about is why I use 4x3 in Brood War, is because you don't actually have that many hotkeys to jump around. So my fix for that was to not play widescreen because the screen scroll takes so much longer if you're going to the sides.
You deactivate zooming with the mouse middle button. You should never have that on unless even if you're looking for observers. I don't think you should.
You can use your keyboard.
Yeah, you should use any keyboard.
There's a button to go up and down to check for
rebind this one.
It's
just
really annoying.
Especially if you use middle mouse click, you should never have it on because then you'll accidentally do it, and then it's.
Have you ever played a game zoomed in like that?
I have. It's fun.
It's probably hard.
It's really fun. It's like I'm playing a first-person shooter.
Yeah, it's like you're playing WoW or something.
Yeah.
But with Terran, first thing, I have the rapid fire on the supply depots, and then same thing with like gases. Actually, not in this account, but normally I would. Just to speed up the build order early as much as possible. Actually, you'll see even a lot of pros, the Reaper will come out 2 seconds slower than other pros just because their build order, like in building their buildings, isn't perfectly precise.
Oh, yeah.
You can build your supply depot. Say on a ramp like this where you have to build a barracks there to have an add-on fit. You can build a supply depot here so that your barracks starts even sooner than if you build it here. This would be the normal supply depot place.
You gotta yeah, that
on
makes
most
sense.
maps, but on this one you could do it here. Hold it down to build the barracks. Start the gas, and then little quirk. This is not really to do with hotkeys, but with Terran, whenever you start a gas, and especially like your first or second gas, where you actually have time to manage it. Okay, right after you start it, you can shift click in between it and the command center, then shift click gather, and then click on it, and then that'll make the SCV. Because normally, say it finishes with the SCV here, it'll start mining there, and then if you rally 2 other ones, then when it comes back and delivers again, it'll mess up the timing, so you're like missing a bit of gas. So what you would do then is...
So you want it to pop off the geyser into the right location.
Yeah, so you go like this so that it actually lines up.
Oh, that's funny.
And you're not missing any mining time.
One carry will be slower otherwise.
So you'll miss 4 gas for no reason.
Yeah.
And you'll see a lot of pro gamers will do it this way now. And then...
It's crazy how optimized things have become in this game.
Yeah. And then say I'm... since you need the barracks to finish to start your orbital, and you're not building an SCV right before that happens. If you're waiting to have enough gas, what you can do is you move your camera over the command center. You have your barracks selected, and then when you're waiting for it to finish, you hold down R, and then as soon as the Reaper starts, you click and then press the orbital hotkey. Just so you don't have to like press with the keyboard an extra time. Just to speed up your orbital a little bit.
Damn.
Like, there's a lot of little things like this to optimize your build.
That's crazy. I'd never even think of those things.
Yeah, me neither. I didn't even know this was a world until I switched hotkeys. I'm like, whoa. This is way more optimized than I was expecting.
I've talked to people about hotkeys before, but not this in depth lately. And it seems like there's been so much built upon it now. Like some of these things you're saying where like, yeah, you go from the Reaper and the orbital, right? Like that. It's like, oh my God. Yeah, I guess. I mean, this is the order of things.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. It makes sense.
And say you're doing a gas first build, you do the opposite because you would have extra gas and you would start multiple Reapers on accident. But not all pro gamers use this. This is like newer things where people are just even coming up with newer and newer optimizations. Another thing I'll show you is...
Switch it.
What?
In-game.
Oh. Was it not showing in-game?
It was before.
Where do I go?
Huh?
In-game?
No.
Okay. Another thing is a lot of the times now, say I'm building my barracks and then I want it to... There's no doodad here to show you where to center your base.
Yeah.
So while it's building...
But there is.
Get away. What?
Wait, what?
Not to show you the exact center.
Yeah.
It's like you can see it.
Yeah, but you... Say for Zerg, you want to have the drone exactly in the middle because it needs to be in the middle to start it on time.
Yeah.
So what you'll do... Say... I do this with Terran just out of habit, but... You can use the build grid to... And then you build a building, and the edge of the build grid, you put it 1 square away. And then you click the center. And that's exactly the center where your hatchery will be. So then...
Is that with every building the build grid will look like that? Or is it like
believe so.
eBay
Except
or?
with gases, it doesn't have it.
Yeah.
So even with gases now with Protoss, you'll use it to find the position of your first pylon in PvP.
Oh.
So that you have enough room to build a wall so that you have a space for an Archon to come out later.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's
people,
cool.
especially if you watch Showtime stream, he'll always do that.
Yeah.
For example. Another thing I can point out, this is not hotkeys, but with Zerg, you find the position with an Evo chamber. We have no Evo chamber, so I'll use an eBay. And then you right click, and then you shift right click. And then it won't slow down while going to the center. If you just click one time, the unit will slow down right before it arrives.
As it approaches,
So you can, say as Zerg, what you do is you would find it as the drone's going down, shift, right click, and then control shift to build the base. And hold down the build base button, and then it just starts a little bit quicker.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, that kind of reminds me of some of the mining tricks that exist in StarCraft 1, where it's
exactly
like they slow down as they get to patches, so there's ways you can fix that occasionally.
There was actually a time where mining in StarCraft 2 was like that, where we would do this.
Yeah.
Like with our... Because they would
That
stop.
doesn't exist in StarCraft 2 anymore.
No,
It did.
It was exactly the same thing as this, but they patched it out of the game.
Yeah,
So you couldn't do that. Actually...
It's probably better. Eventually you get to a level where it's like, okay, Like, how much am I supposed to do?
It mattered more when it was a 6-worker start, though.
Yeah.
yeah.
In the
Because
6-worker, we used
You
to
had so
micro
much
around.
time to do absolutely nothing in the game
Mhm.
other than optimize your mining. I actually see Australia do it sometimes. Still.
I do it
don't know
too
if it actually
sometimes.
works. Does it actually still
It
work?
feels like it does, but not.
Okay, let's
It's not
watch.
relevant. Yeah, you can feel it. It feels like it. Yeah, it definitely
yeah.
does.
That
Actually,
it
feels
works.
like it. That feels like
That
it
does
works.
work, but with 12 workers start, it's so minimal.
it's so
Yeah.
relevant. Yeah.
Even back in the day, if you screwed it up once and didn't mine, it did more damage than every time you
Yeah.
did it correctly.
Yeah.
So because say you're doing the thing with the command center, there's absolutely no way to screw it up. But
Mhm.
like if you click too close to the minerals or off to the one side or something, since you have to line it up manually, if you mess it up one time, that you can get your worker to go like here on accident, and then it'll waste time and you'll lose mining.
it's
time.
way worse than
So
like efficiently doing it for like 2
Yeah.
minutes.
you can do it like with your gas,
you missed, like,
I
once.
guess, if you have
Mhm.
2 workers on gas. But like it's
Thing I
such a
do it the
small
most
thing.
with is my like when I'm planning. You know how they sometimes there's 3 on one patch. Like I'll do it like this. See how I just like. There's not really many uses for it, but you do want to micromanage. Make sure you don't have 3 guys on one patch because that's really bad.
Mm.
And even when
Yeah.
you're not fully saturated, you can have 3 guys on one patch. Like if you have 14
Oh yeah,
out of
it
16,
happens sometimes actually. And,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want a programmer
that's
to see
the
you
only-
doing that. That's
it's just really bad actually.
Embarrassing.
Even in the lower levels, like you're
Yeah.
losing so much mining time for no
you
reason.
really are. It's a
Imagine
big
just
deal.
stopping one SCV in your mirror
Yeah.
line. It's basically the same thing. So
Another thing we use the repeat thing for is for gather, especially in PvZ nowadays. They'll always harass your miner line. It's very annoying. So when they come and harass it, you just okay. Wait, let's get back to normal. They'll do this, and then you just hold down gather, and then wait, and then you continue. You'll see Zergs do this over and over for like 30 seconds while they're getting harassed, and that's why their APM will spike up so high in the early game sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it just helps stop them from harassing your miner line a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. That is crazy. There's like a hotkey arms race out there.
There is.
Wow. Well, my brain has expanded today.
I feel like I told you that same thing. That once you saw this, your brain would expand.
You probably did.
Yeah.
And it has. This is like beyond what I thought we were going to be talking about.
I'll show you the early game thing with Protoss,
Okay.
how they find their wall in.
Yeah. That's super helpful.
Didn't know any of these things. I'm glad you guys are learning with us.
You know, I'm learning a hell of a lot. Oh my god. As we get this money going, I want to mention there's like this hotkey thing I've been really dragging my feet on fixing in Brood War.
Mm-hmm.
So you generally most Terrans put their comstat scanners on 098. So every matchup you have scanners on 098 by like 6 minutes or
Yeah.
so. You have scanners, and S is scan. So over 20 years of going 0S, 9S, that type of thing. So I've been like, I should really switch to like 0P or O. But I feel like my brain can't handle it, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm going to lose too many games to lurkers because my hand goes the other place, then all my Marines get shredded. What do you guys think? Am I being a baby?
I think you're a baby. You should just unhockey it completely, like the other way of doing it.
Well, you
And
can't
you'll-
have double hockeys in Brood
Yeah,
War
so
anyways.
eventually you're just going to get fucked enough times to always revert it.
It's going to hurt too bad,
It's
though.
going to hurt.
Yeah.
So this is what I did with all my hockeys. I just ripped the Band-Aid off completely and just switched straight up.
Yeah, I feel like
didn't save. I like this. I changed the Baneling detonate hockey after 8 years or 9 years even.
Yeah. It's
So
tough.
I just ripped the whole Band-Aid off, and then it took me like a week to get everything fluent. But it was way better than doing like individual stuff and like really dragging that process on. Because if I'm gonna have a shitty ladder week, I don't want to have it happen like 10 times individually when I'm shifting one thing over eventually. And it was way easier than I thought it was. Like beginning week I was down 200 MMR, and the end of the week I was up 200 MMR from where I started. And
Nice.
I never had any problems playing with the hockeys. So
Yeah.
you should just go like to the
Rip the
extreme.
Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
write a list of all the hockeys
You
you've
should
been
do it
wanting to
with
change.
everything.
That's
At
true.
At the same time.
I really should change my vulture hockey.
Maybe don't stream for like a day.
V is such a
two.
dumb
It's
thing
gonna
when I'm
hurt.
macroing vultures to try to fucking hit like 4V, 5V, 6V, 7V. Like,
Yeah.
I can do it.
It'll feel so much better when it's actually done too. Like it's one of the best changes I've ever made in all my StarCraft career.
Yeah.
Like not having layers randomly building, not having like my some of my hockeys didn't make any sense. I wasn't able to do very many rapid fire stuff because of the way the units were positioned. Like everything was just very intuitive, made a lot of sense. I started using rapid fire for the first time and it felt really good. Like I started using bile rapid fire. I never used that before because it would build roaches and stuff because of the weird hotkey layout I had.
Yeah.
So there's just so many things, and you should just do it all at once, not individuals.
Yeah.
Because your brain's going to be reprogrammed. You might as well reprogram everything.
Yeah.
And that's also for the same goes for the viewers here. If you guys are planning on changing your hotkeys, you should do a big change all at once because your brain has to rethink about everything anyways.
Yeah.
So I'll show you what I mean with. Nowadays, if you watch like Showtime stream, you line up the gas with, say you want your gap here, which would be common on this map, for example. As your probe is going to build the pylon, you space it out 2 times, and you make the pylon right there. And then you have a perfect wall every time. You can have gateway, 2 gaps, and then an arc on volt fit through. Say you want to have a consistent wall in, which most of the Korean Protosses now we know struggle with because they always have terrible walls. What they should do is find out where they want a wall. Say on this map, I like to wall with my pylon here, so I'll put the gap here. Because if you already have the minerals, you could easily do it, right? Say you want the pylon there.
Yeah.
But the problem is you want your pylon to start immediately on time.
Yeah. So
which
simulator
means
costs less.
A simulator costs less, so you do it similar to use that Evo with Zerg because it's the cheapest building you could make at the start of the game. So you find out, like, we want to have 3 spaces away from there, so we'll make our pylon, and then we put it right here. We know every time we'll put the pylon in the same place. And then later we'll put the gateway
like
here, core, and then we have our second gateway here. We have a perfect wall in.
I like how you're doing it in such a way where you can measure it in the game. Yeah. Actually, the way that I deal with this, again, StarCraft 1, because it's the game I play all the time, I actually did all my walls and printed them out and laminated them. And so I have a double-sided sheet for 4-player maps where it says top right, bottom left, top left, bottom,
He actually has his kids holding them up.
Like, they're just sitting on my desk, and when I get to a map, if it's one that I'm not used to the walls on, I just fucking put the thing down and I get my position. I'm like, all right, that's where the buildings go.
Well, in Brood War, it's a lot more finicky, right? Like on different sides of the building, it'll have a different pathing, so you have to be.
Yeah.
You can't
well,
just
that's why I
measure
have it all figured out.
It's not just squares like in StarCraft 2 where it's very simple. Like I can just go all here. I have a perfect wall now. Like I can re-wall with a cyber core if I want to.
You can do it on the other
re-wall
way
with
too.
a pylon. Yeah. Building is coming.
If you try to do that in StarCraft 1, Ultras would get through. It'd be crazy.
Yeah. And if you actually, the Korean Protosses are all terrible at walling right now.
They are terrible at walling.
Especially Zest.
They always have been too.
Yeah.
Like seriously.
Chicken Man SC says, I don't like rapid fire. It feels like too much of a shortcut. You actually need to do it to compete at some of the higher levels.
Yeah.
Especially with Bile. Ravager Bile is so different with rapid fire. It's just disgustingly different.
I kind of agree with that sentiment. The thing is, it is part of the game, so you should be doing it. Yeah. But I think that it would be better designed if rapid fire didn't exist.
I agree.
Yeah,
but like it's also so important now.
I think, if you, like, for instance, if you watch this episode and you're like, that's the shit I have to learn to compete. Yeah. It's like, yes,
you
it is.
You actually do, yeah.
And I think that's not necessarily like a good thing, you know?
Especially Ravager Bile. It's so different. Like when I was doing it before, and I'm like, this is just so Ravager, just shit. I'm never using this unit. And then I used Sasha's hotkeys. I'm like, supply depots just explode. You can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Like, there's no repair.
Yeah, you can't repair a bunker.
There's no time in between.
It's literally a difference between like killing stuff and not killing stuff.
Yeah.
And especially when you're cheesing Terran players.
Crazy.
So if you don't have Ravager Bile on,
it's the same thing with Warp Gate. Like you need to be able to warp in 10 zealots in a 1/10 of a second or a quarter of a second.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking at the warp in, they all start at the same time basically. If you're clicking 10 times, it's like 20 actions to do it.
Yeah. Which, you just do it with your mouse. Actually, I had someone helping me set up hotkeys a few years ago, maybe, 4 or 5 years ago, and they set me up with the rapid fire on warp-ins.
Yeah.
But then I had the problem you were having, Jake, that you were talking about, where, like, suddenly I would, like, build a Nexus or something, or, like, my Phoenix lifts something up because I'm trying to, like, warp in Stalkers. I can't even remember what it was, but it was, like, crazy shit was going wrong, and I'm like, I can't deal with this, so I took it off. So I'm one of the click 10 times for 10 Zealot guys.
Roddy is actually, like, the one person that's very against this method.
Why?
The rapid fire?
Yeah, he refuses to switch for the warp-ins to rapid fire.
He's being stubborn.
Yeah, click, Zealots. Takes, like...
Do you have it set up?
Yeah, but I need warp gate.
Oh my god.
You got to chrono that.
Yeah.
Rapid fire
It's
chrono.
like 5 more gateways.
Can you imagine that if chrono's stacked? You're going to do rapid fire chrono boost. I'm like, boom! Just the carriers out. I'm like, I need to make 5 disruptors. They just come right out.
So one thing that I thought was really weird for you, because I play off races and I noticed that you don't have the W hotkey for warp gate,
Wait, what do you mean?
right? Like when your gates are finished,
I
you hotkey the gateways, right?
Oh, yeah, I always hotkey
That's
them.
so weird.
Yeah,
to
I
me.
hotkey gates too.
The thing is,
I do not like
before-
warp gate hockey.
before the change that made it automatically transform, you needed to hotkey them to
Yeah.
transform them manually if something else was going on at the time. So
Also, I like seeing like where they are. Like when I
Yeah.
hit my
Yeah.
when I hit my gate hotkey, it shows you the countdown, like right how far the gates are along. Whereas sometimes you'll hit the warp gate key, and it'll just show you like a gate, or nothing will happen because all your gates are off cooldown, and it's like it's kind of a dumb hotkey. I think I don't like it.
So I don't just hold down Z to do it multiple times. I have a separate hotkey, so I can do like Z and then hold down Shift and press a rapid fire hotkey because it's twice as fast.
Really?
Because say you just hold down Z, it has to do Z click, but the other way is Z, and then you hold down Shift, and for each repeat, it actually builds a unit instead of for every second repeat. So it's twice as fast as the other method. And you can use it for any
'Cause you
unit
just have
want
So
to
you
whip in.
use your rapid fire key and the just regular build Zalot key?
Yeah, I'll
So, like-
press Shift, I'll press Z, Shift, and then my rapid fire key to warp in Zealots, for
It's because
example.
left click is on it, right?
And
On a key.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
holding down a keyboard key, left clicking, like left click is spamming in the
Yeah,
background.
yeah.
Whereas otherwise it has to, because I'll show you again when the cooldown's done. But it
Okay,
would be
it's
a lot
5
faster
logs.
than this. It's just we don't have the repeat rate set up on this
Mm-hmm.
on this computer. Yeah. So what I wanted to show is that, say you're normally warping in Zealots, you would press Z click, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you hold down Shift, then you just click, 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 click.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're holding down Shift when you rapid fire doing it, it's the same process. It's the same concept. It's twice as fast.
Damn. This game's crazy. How daunting.
So Z and Shift is your hotkeys?
What?
Like-
Press 5.
5
Z, Shift, and then like N or something.
Z Shift N. What's going on here?
Well, you could use any. You could press C or whatever. I
Ah.
just started with N for my rapid fire key. That's what I'm used to. But if you have it set on Z also, you could just hold Shift Z and it would do it by itself.
Right.
But just Shift makes it twice as fast.
Who figured out rapid fire in the beginning? Does anyone remember?
We don't know. It was some Korean. Because it came from the Kaspa coaches. At least as far as the foreign scene found it.
Okay.
As I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
But I think it was only added in Heart of the Swarm.
Yeah.
In the hotkey setup.
Yeah.
I think before then, people had separate drivers to bind it to like the scroll wheel. I remember with Snipes was a thing in Wings of Liberty.
Yeah.
But
Scrolling
that was
Snipes was fun.
that was not part of the actual StarCraft 2 hotkey setup until
Yeah.
Heart of the Swarm.
I remember throwing the mouse wheel and the fucking infested Terrans just popped
Was it not
out.
Kaldor? I actually told Kaldor about it. Guy in the chat. But the Korean Kaspa coaches told me about it, so I don't know who originally figured it out.
It's probably a random player
Yeah,
that
take
told
that
them
guy in
too.
the chat.
No, I'm just saying, like, Kaldor did make the video that the foreign scene used, but
He was plagiarized.
it was from the Korean scene somewhere. I
With
just don't know
knowledge
who it
from-
was.
A Kespa coach. Everyone's probably like, Caldor's so smart. Plays so much StarCraft.
It's back when he was here casting GSTL.
All right. I think we did it.
Yeah, I think
That
that's a
was
good
great, though.
episode.
Thank you so much for walking us through all that, Scarlett.
Yeah, no problem.
My brain is
I'm sure
expanded.
there's stuff I've missed too.
It's one of those times where I've absorbed so much new stuff. I'm like, I need to lay down. You know?
There's another few small things like say I have my infestor pit and also down on. You can rebind them so they're not so close together because sometimes you'll accidentally build the wrong one. Like there's a time in
Yeah.
Heart of the Swarm in a pro game where I made 3 infestation pits instead of my ultra
Nice.
cavern. Like I think a few people that's happened to because if you have to move your hand to the key and it's far away and then
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
another key right next to it, you can accidentally press the wrong one pretty easily.
This is why I pop keys out.
Yeah, that makes sense for that.
Don't miss anything.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this episode with Hotkeys. You guys can check out our Discord and Patreon and support us there if you like
Yeah.
this content. We'll be doing more fun stuff soon. Thank you guys for watching, and we love you.